Welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss, an Aftersight original podcast. In each episode, we share stories, insights, and practical advice to help you navigate the journey of living with low vision or blindness. Together, we'll embrace each step with courage, grace, and hope.
Hello, this is Kim Wardlow. I am your host for Navigating Life with Vision Loss. We've talked about all sorts of safety, financial safety, physical safety, cybersecurity, online safety, combating, frauds so you don't get taken by a fraudster, all these different things, safety in medical environments, so many things. But I think today's topic, it is safety, but it's also fun because we are going to be talking about travel. And my guest is Sue Slater, who's a blind travel guru. She's a returning guest. She's been with us before to talk about travel. This time we're specifically talking about traveling alone. Of course, it's always fun to travel with other people and groups, and that's great. But there are times when you either need or would like to travel alone, and just the safety of that if you're traveling as a person with blindness or low vision. So, Sue, welcome back.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I'm excited to have you back and talk about travel because I like to travel. It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to do.
Yes.
Do you want to tell our audience a little bit more about yourself?
So I am a completely blind travel advisor. I've been doing travel for 25 years, and I've been traveling without sight since 1982 by myself and with my late husband and companions. And I have traveled throughout the United States on cruises, at resorts, and in Europe and the Middle East.
Definitely a well-seasoned traveler. I know we were just talking about an upcoming cruise you're doing with your trivia club. So lots of fun things. Travel can be fun, but sometimes, like I said, we either need or want to travel alone. Traveling alone can have some aspects of you might be nervous or afraid, but it can also be very empowering and give you a lot of freedom. So what kind of advice or encouragement would you give to someone who wants to travel, who has vision loss or is blind, who wants to travel alone?
So, of course, it's easier to travel by yourself where everybody speaks English in the United States. So, if you're traveling by yourself in the United States, when you get to the airport, you can either check in outside or get to the counter. I myself use a wheelchair at the airport since it's a lot faster to get through the TSA. But if you want to just walk, the people there are okay for you to either walk with a cane and walk beside you or guide you to get through TSA and to your gate. There are also some apps that you can use while in the airport. One of them is Be My Eyes, and one of them is Aira, which works with most of the airports for free throughout the United States. And a new app, which I have just started using, is called Ally, which is ALLY. It's a it's a GPT chat app, but it also can look at what's in front of you and tell you what you're seeing. It can look at a screen on a laptop. It can scan a menu and tell you what items on there are gluten-free, are dairy-free, are sugar-free, what the prices are. It's something that's really good for people to use, especially when you're traveling. And when you go to an airport, they usually pre-board you, show you where your seat is, orient you to where the exits are, where the bathrooms are, and help you to get to luggage when you get off the airline and help you get to where you can get ground transport to get to your hotel and do sightseeing. When I travel by myself and go to certain places in the United States, I will use a Lyft or Uber to get to my hotel. I will ask for an accessible room if one is available on the first floor near the lobby if one is available. Contact the different sites that I want to see and talk to the education department to see if it's possible to get special tours or if they have audio tours at these places and take lifts to and from the sites that I want to see. So that's some of the ways you can travel in the United States safely.
Sue, as you working with people who are traveling alone for the first time, what are the most common fears or concerns that they have?
Of course, when you're traveling by yourself and you don't have a sighted companion with you, you're worried about, getting through the airport safely, getting to your gate on time, getting aboard the plane. Also, when you get into the airport, to make sure that you get into the right vehicle, that it's the lift that you ordered, and getting to the hotel. When you get to the hotel, you want to make sure that the person at the desk has somebody that will help you map the way from the lobby to where your room is, and then again to show you how to get to where the breakfast is in the morning and to get to where the lobby is to get out of the hotel. If you decide that you want to walk to wherever you're going in a new place during the daytime, there's an app you can put on your phone called CityMapper that will give you walking directions step by step, which way to turn, where the side streets are, etc. You also can take an Uber or Lyft to the place that you want to go to and then just walk into it. And then you can go and walk around the museum or sit at the restaurant, things like that. But I suggest that if you're going to be going out at night, you should always use transportation, since being in a strange place, you have no idea where safe areas are and where not safe areas are. But if you do your research before you go and you talk to the manager of the hotel, you talk to the education departments at the different museums or sites that you want to see while in a destination, it'll make you feel more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. So, Sue, you make a great point when you mention about if you've done your research first. So, what recommendations would you have for a person? They're going to be traveling alone, and they want to be sure that they're staying in a place that's in a safe area, but they may not know the city well if they haven't been there before. What advice can you give folks for that upfront research that they will want to do in order to really have the best experience in their travel?
So, depending on what they want to see or do while they're in a certain place, they should go on to Google and they should look at hotels that are near where they want to be. So, the city center, near a metro stop, things like that. Also, they should go on to Google and say, what is the crime rate at the address where the hotel is?
Mm.
And that'll give them an idea of what kind of area this is. So, those would be the first two things that I would do before I went to a place right away.
I have not thought about ever asking Google for the crime rate of some place I'm going. That's great advice. And then if there's specific sites you want to see, like you mentioned museums, looking into the accessibility. I know some places have tactile tours, just depending what it is you're wanting to do and see.
So, for example, I was in New Orleans in August. I was with a sighted companion, but I've also been in New Orleans by myself. And so we stayed at the outside of the French Quarter. The first day of sightseeing, everything we did was within 3 miles of the hotel and near each other. The second day, when we went to do our sightseeing, we did everything around Jackson Square. So again, it was in an accessible walking space. That way, we were near where we wanted to be. We knew that the Lyft rides were not going to be that expensive. We also looked at the different prices of getting into the museums and looked for free things to do plus low cost entrance fees. That's another thing people might want to do when they're looking at the sites they want to see. We're lucky in St. Louis because a lot of our museums are free, our tax dollars pay for it. But other places, such as Denver, where you're at, do not have that luxury. And to get into some of these museums, it could be $20 to $40 each time you go in.
Yeah, and it's good to be prepared for that so you're not surprised. If you're used to living in a place where some of the museums or sites have free admission, just knowing if that's the case where you're going. What changes? So if you're traveling domestically, you don't have the language issues, you still need to do the research because obviously there's so many places, even domestically, to go that you may not be familiar with. But when you shift from domestic travel to international solo travel, what extra things do you need to be aware of? What extra preparation do you need to do?
So when you're going internationally, and I have traveled internationally by myself twice now, once to Morocco and once to Dubai. And so, of course, if from the United States, the people speak English. And so another app to have on your phone that's really good is called Google Translate. And another app to have on your phone is called XE Currency, which tells you in real time what the currency is in the country you're going to, how much it converts to in United States dollars, whether they accept United States dollars or not, because places like Morocco do not accept it. And you have to go to money exchange places in order to have the money to pay for cab rides, things like that. Rome is another place where if you're doing rideshare, they do not take credit cards, debit cards, or United States dollars. And if you don't have enough euros on you, they will take you to a place where you can go in and exchange your dollars for euros to pay for that. That's what happened to us when we were in Rome a couple of years ago. So that's also something to research if you're going internationally. What type of currency they take, whether or not they will accept debit, credit, or United States dollars. If it's not, in particular retail stores, that's really important. And Google Translate is the best translating app that you can put onto your phone. And if you have AirPods, there are now AirPods now that will help you with translation. So these are some of the things to look into. Also, people going internationally need to know that in certain places they may not be able to get reception on their phone or on their internet. And so they need to know which places are better as far as phone reception, internet reception. When I was in Dubai, I had no reception whatsoever because some governments restrict the kind of access that you can have. Also, if you're going internationally, I recommend that you book the hotels and the tours, or go with an escorted tour company and get this all set up before you go over to wherever you're going internationally, because that way you're paying in United States dollars and it's all set up, and they'll provide English speaking guides for you.
Okay, so
That-
in a case like you mentioned in Dubai, then your apps that you've been recommending to us, your apps wouldn't necessarily work there.
Not in Dubai. If you have a phone where you can take out a SIM card and put another one in that you buy from Dubai, you may be able to do that. But
Hmm.
certain iPhones, like the one I have, you no longer have a SIM card
Right.
that you can actually take out. They've, updated all the new phones and they don't have that anymore. So you'd have to buy, I guess, pay for like a burner phone, which had something like that you could get their SIM card put in. But internet access was just none. You couldn't get internet access at all there.
Well, and I feel like that's so important. At least myself, I know I'm so reliant. I never thought I'd be so reliant on a phone, but I really am with my smartphone, especially if I'm places that I'm not familiar with. I'm looking for restaurants, or I'm, looking for directions, or all of those
Right,
things. So I could see where that would be very, very important to know. Not that you can't go there, but just to be prepared.
right. And so again, I'll say it again, it's research.
Mhm.
So you need to just do your research before you pick a place. Say, I'd love to go to London. London's very accessible.
Yes.
And then you can, look at the different hotels and where they're located and the different tours that are, there for you to do. And I've had people go by themselves with their guide dogs and travel around Europe by themselves. Also, if you're going out of the United States, in the United States, you have to have a real ID, a real non driver's ID. Also, if you're going out of the country now, all of the different countries have initiated which is called a visa waiver. So you can no longer just enter a country with your passport. Before you go, you have to go on to the site, apply for a visa waiver, and it's like $15. And you have to have like a QR code or something showing that you've been accepted to show when you get to the country. Otherwise, they'll put you right back on that plane. It's something brand new that started in May.
And that would just be devastating to get there and have
Exactly.
paid for all of your tours and your travel and be sent straight home.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, what a
Again,
nightmare that would
it's
be.
something that just happened. Yes.
Well, that's good to know, because these things that change, it seems like some of the changes are happening more frequently now. It's really important to know that, because you might not come across that. You might come across it doing your research, but you might not.
Right. So I wanted to let people know about that.
No, thank you. That's super, super important. In terms of safety, when you're traveling, you mentioned, needing to exchange currency, because many places you can't just use US dollars. Do you have any safety tips if folks are using ATMs or at foreign exchange
So
counters?
I would check at the hotel I was staying at, okay, to find out if they had an ATM there where you could exchange, money for your euros. Put in your
Hmm.
like debit card, and then you would,
Right.
say how much you wanted, and they would put, yeah. So I would check with the hotel, which could tell you what would be safe for you to go to get this done. And then I would also take at least $100 in euros or whatever the currency was in the country where I was going, just to have for incidentals right off the bat.
And where do you go to get foreign currency? I know
Ye-
I had a friend who went overseas, and we wanted to give her some foreign currency, as a gift, since she was moving there and not able to take a whole lot with her. And we realized that many of the banks and places we'd been able, to get foreign currency in the past no longer were doing that.
So if you call the branch of the bank that you're banking with and you ask them if they have a branch, because only certain branches have the capability of doing this. Not every branch of every bank can do it. So the thing is to call your banking branch, talk to the bank manager, and ask them that question. And they'd be the best people to help you.
Okay, that's good advice because you want to look into that ahead of time and not wait till the day before you're traveling and then realize you're going to have a problem getting a little foreign currency, because that is so helpful to have when you first arrive and you haven't had a chance to exchange anything yet.
Yes.
Um, a- and and places do take credit and debit cards, but as you said, not everywhere, and sometimes not the Uber drivers or on-demand transportation
Right.
drivers.
That's why if you book the tours ahead of time, book your train travel if you want to do train travel ahead of time, your hotel escorted tours, anything that you can book on a booking platform or the travel agent can do for you ahead of time and have it in United States dollars. It's a big savings. Plus, everyone, if they're traveling domestically or they're traveling internationally, especially now, should have very good travel insurance. So if there's a delay, if anything happens, you're going to be covered.
Also, a good tip. It does cost, but they can be well worth it if you're delayed or.
Exactly. And a lot of the travel insurance plans now are canceled for any reason, which means, if it's not a covered reason, but you don't feel safe traveling because of what might be going on in a certain region or with delays and things, they will give you back your money to however you put it on with a credit card or a debit card. Just the only thing you would lose would be the cost of your travel insurance. But it's well worth it in what we're living in now to have it.
Do you have any tips, Sue, of when you are traveling and you have your passport, you have your visas, money, your technology, of keeping things secure and just avoiding even just something very simple and old school like a pickpocket of
Yes.
taking your things and ruining your trip?
Yes, I do. Okay. So if you're a woman, okay, they now have these things, they're called anti theft bags. You can get them on Temu, on Etsy, on Amazon. There's all shapes, sizes, and they have interlocking things to make it not so easy for pickpockets to get. They fit over your head and under your arm. Also, when I travel, I use a passport holder where in the back, with the front of it will hold your driver's license and your passport, and the back of it has a zipper where you could put your credit or debit card and some cash. And I just slip it right underneath my blouse or t-shirt so that nobody knows it's there. And whatever I have in my handbag is just stuff that nobody's going to want, you know. It's not my wallet, it's not my passport, it's none of those things. And if you're a man, to get a money belt that fits underneath your clothes, also for men to get a passport holder. Those are things I highly recommend.
Great advice. Sometimes we don't think about that. We just are used to carrying things the way we carry them at home. But especially if you're in a location where you're quite easily identified as a tourist, visually, then
Yep.
you might be a target.
Yes, and also when you do your research to know which places are more prominent for pickpocketing, such as Italy, Spain, to be extra careful when you're out and about.
So you've given us so many great tips. I I know a lot of times I remember things better when I've heard like a story about them, or, trying to remember all the different facts that I've heard. Do you have any, just your personal travel experiences, domestically, internationally, where you've traveled alone, of being able to share either challenges or really positive experiences that you've had?
Yes. So 5 years ago, I was leading a cruise of a card group on a cruise out of New Orleans. My husband was supposed to go with me, my late husband, and he got sick and ended up in the hospital. So my daughter was going to fly down and help me be, secretary, photographer, everything. But she couldn't come down right away. So I was in New Orleans for the first couple of days by myself. So I love New Orleans. I've been there a lot of times because my husband was from that area. So I got into the hotel. I was able to get a room on the first floor, not very far from where the lobby was. And they walked me over to where the door was. They oriented me. I used my apps, Be My Eyes and Aira, to find out where things were, how to turn on the microwave, how to turn on the TV, how to change the thermostat. When I got up in the morning to go to breakfast, I used Be My Eyes to help guide me the right way to get to where the breakfast was and to get to a table where somebody could help me with the buffet. When I went to do the sites, I had contacted some of the museums in New Orleans, and I had arranged for special tours. So I took a Lyft to the museum. The Lyft driver took me up to meet the person. She walked me around the museum, let me feel things, describe things, and took pictures for me. I did that in several of the museums. The first night I was in New Orleans, I found out which hotel near my hotel had the best jazz. I took a Lyft over there. I ate supper there, and then the people where I ate supper in the hotel guided me to where the jazz was, and then guided me to wait for a Lyft to take me back to my hotel for the evening. The next night, I took a Lyft over to Frenchman Street to another jazz place. The driver walked me into the bar, and I listened to music again. And I was able to do that for the first 2 days until my daughter joined me. Had a wonderful time, saw lots of stuff. And another app that I use now when I go places is I have people take pictures for me. I then share them with Be My AI. And it's like seeing everything again because it describes the picture in so much detail that it's like I was actually looking at it with my eyes. That's one example of domestic. When I was in Dubai, once I got to the airport in JFK, the person I was going with left her passport back in Houston.
Oh,
So
no.
she had to fly back to Houston, and I had to fly from JFK into Egypt, catch another plane to go into Dubai to meet the group of travel agents that I was traveling with. I was by myself for the first day, and the people in the group took pictures for me, helped me on and off the bus, helped me on to the boat where we did the marina tour around Dubai and describe what the dancers were doing. And I listened to the songs, smell the smells, and it was great. So those are just two examples of when I actually traveled by myself and had to be in a place without anybody else who was sighted going along with me.
That is a nightmare I have had. I have not ever had that experience where I went to travel and I did not have my passport when I needed it, but it's one of those things that I've had in dreams where I've arrived at an airport, or I've been in another country and then all of a sudden I don't have my passport and I can't get to where I'm going. So I can only imagine how stressful that would have been for your friend.
Right. So talking about having that happen in another country, a friend of mine, he and his wife were going on a cruise out of a small town in Italy. And he went to give them this passport at the hotel, and somebody had taken it. He had to take a train to Florence the next day, get to the United States Embassy, get them to give him a temporary passport, get back on the train, and get back to the cruise before 11 o'clock the next day.
Oh my goodness.
He made it. He didn't think he was going
Ooh.
to. So I always say, put your passport in a passport holder, put that around your neck before you leave your house, and that way you'll never forget it.
Good. That is good advice. And that is something that can be important. I think when we travel, we think things will go well. But if you are in a situation, especially out of the country, I mean, certainly it could happen in the country as well, but especially out of the country, if you do find yourself in some type of emergency situation, do you have tips? Obviously, you lose your passport, you're going to need to go to a U.S. embassy.
Yeah, most of the travel uh, insurance places that you use will have a 24-hour concierge line that you can call if you need help. Because that's what the travel insurance is. It's about to help you if there's an emergency, if you get hurt, things like that. So that's what I would recommend. And hopefully, most 99% of the time, you're going to be fine
Mm-hmm.
as long as you do your research and you do the same kind of precautions you would do any place, whether you were, in your hometown or in Italy. There's certain things that just are common sense. That if you follow those types of safety precautions in the city you live in, you're going to need to follow the same things when you're in a place you're not familiar with. But if you look at different neighborhoods, you look at the safety percentages of them, things like that with ChatGPT and with Google, it makes things so much easier now to find information quickly, where before it took forever to get the information that you needed.
And just in terms of safety habits, I mean, certainly, as you said, keep your passport, your money close to you, so someone isn't, if they do get your purse or your wallet, that you haven't lost everything. But just in terms of staying in touch with someone else at home, uh,
So,
so they know that you're okay, that you've arrived okay, all those sorts of things.
right. So you should leave a copy of your credit or debit card, a copy of your passport with a close friend or relative. Okay. Um, you should send them a text when you get into an airport telling them that you've arrived. When I'm on a plane, I let the person that drove me to the airport, if I'm traveling by myself, know, okay, I'm at the gate. I'm on the plane. I'm at the hotel,
Hmm.
so that they know I made it safely. Okay. And, that's important. So whenever possible, that's how you should do it. You should put either Magic Shack or WhatsApp again on your phone, which makes it easier to call somebody if you're out of the country. Those are two apps also to look into and put on your phone. So these are the kinds of things that I do, that I tell other people to do if they're traveling by themselves. And it depends on your mobility. Some people are really mobile and independent and just go all over the place with their cane or their guide dog. And then there are some people that have mobility issues that maybe if they fell, they wouldn't respond as quickly
Hmm.
in their 70s as someone in their 20s. Okay. So it's just knowing yourself, what you're capable of, what your limitations are, and then customizing the travel to meet what's best for you.
Are there things you should be aware of if you are traveling with a guide dog?
Yes, you need to know if you're going to need a passport for your dog. Your needs, and that can be done by Googling to find out if they still have laws where if you bring a dog into a place like London, they will quarantine them, whether it's a service dog or not. You need to talk to your vet to make sure. I had a college students go to Switzerland, Florence, and Milan 2 years ago. And he went to his vet and got all the documentation he needed to travel with his dog. You need to find out where the areas are if you're traveling with your guide dog, where they can relieve themselves, safely. Carry poop bags with you, carry food with you, find out if they're how the best way they can travel with you. Those, again, are all things that need to be done before you plan a trip if you have a guide dog. The first thing is to look at the place you're going to see if there's any restrictions. Then the second thing is to talk to your veterinarian and find out what kind of shots the dog might need, what kind of paperwork the dog might need, and how far ahead of the time you're planning to do your trip these things needed to be started.
Well, that's great advice because many people are used to traveling with their guide dog domestically, and knowing that it's different in different countries is important.
Exactly.
So you mentioned several apps. Could you perhaps just go over some of those key apps one more time, just so our listeners have
Sure.
those?
If you're going out of the country, there's an app called Google Translate, and it's a translation app. Also, if you have a smartphone and you have AirPods, there are new AirPods out now that help with translation. I'm not sure exactly what model they are, but if you go on Amazon or if you have an Android phone, you could find out which ones they are, how much they cost, and if you wanted to invest in that cost. There is an app called XE Currency that tells you in real time what the currency is in the place that you're visiting and how that converts to United States dollars. There is an app called CityMapper that gives you turn-by-turn walking directions when you're in a place that you're not familiar with. Also, you can put on your phone an app called Ally,Ally, which is an app that can look through the camera. It can tell you what you're looking at. It can scan a menu, tell you what type of items you want to see, what the price is. It's also a chat app in addition to that. I also have on my phone Aira, which works for free in almost every airport in the United States and also works for free with all of the Hilton hotels now. And I also have Be My Eyes, which is a free app that can look through the camera, help orient you, help guide you. And under Be My Eyes is a sub app called Be My AI, where you can either take pictures yourself and have them described to you, or take pictures that people take for you, or have in your library, and again, share it with Be My AI, and it'll describe what you're seeing. It will even describe the text on exhibits in a museum. It is amazing. These are some of the apps you can put on your phone and apps that I also have on my phone that are great when you're traveling.
Well, thank you for going over those again, and we'll try to get those in our show notes as well. Any final comments, suggestions for our listeners that are about to start a travel adventure on their own?
So as long as you're comfortable traveling on your own, then the world is your oyster. As long as you take safety precautions, do your research, do tours, hotels, all this kind of stuff before you go so you can pay for them in United States dollars. Know that you're going through companies that are reliable, that have been vetted, and is not going to just take your money and not show up. Make sure you look for hotels or resorts that's near places that you want to visit while you are there. And if you want to be completely safe and you don't want to do it as an individual, you can become part of an escorted tour where they take care of all the hotels and the sites for you daily. Those are things that I would suggest.
Thank you so much. If folks want to get in touch with you, how would they contact you?
My email is cruiseaway2001@yahoo.com. My phone number is 314-541-8400. And I wanted to mention a new organization that got in touch with me. It's out of India. It's called Rising Star Kulach. And if they're interested in finding out about it, they can also contact me and I will send them information. It's an organization that is designed to make travel inclusive for people that are visually impaired, are blind, and design accessible tours for the visually impaired and blind. Their last one is the end of November this year, and they, I'm sure, will be doing some more in 2026.
Great. Thank you for sharing that with us, Sue. Well, as always, thank you for sharing your expertise with us. It's so much information that's so important to have when you're traveling. So thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be back again and share this with people.
Well, I hope everyone feels confident in at least starting to explore travel and doing some research to plan your next trip. You can give us feedback at AfterSight, or if you have questions, we're always happy to pass those questions on as well, get answers for you. You can reach us at feedback@aftersight.org. feedback@aftersight.org, or by phone at 720-712-8856. Again, that's 720-712-8856. If you have questions, be sure to get those to us because we're hoping to have our last episode be one that answers all your questions that you've given to us. So definitely send those questions to us. So thank you for listening to this episode. And as always, we hope this information helps you navigate your life with vision loss.